It's your girl, Mrs. Tony Two Times, and I'm back with another episode of Hood Tales. In this video, let's take it to Hampton, Virginia, to discuss the case of how a family dispute brought an end to a friendship, claimed the life of a promising college student, and changed lives forever. But before we get into this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss any future uploads. Stay tuned until the end to hear the full story. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Raegan Sharnae Chisley was the kind of young woman whose light could fill a room before she even said a word. At just 20 years old, she was already making her mark at North Carolina Central University, where she studied biomedical sciences with dreams of one day becoming a doctor. Her professors described her as driven, compassionate, and full of purpose, a student who not only excelled in her classes, but also inspired those around her. She loved her science courses, especially principles of biology, molecules, and cells, where she learned independence and accountability. Raegan wasn't just learning how to pass exams. She was preparing to heal people. She was a member of the Minority Association of Pre-Medical Students, served as a chemistry tutor, and spent her summers participating in research and mentorship programs like the Science Enrichment Preparation Program at UNC Chapel Hill. Raegan was laser focused on her future, methodically building the foundation she needed for medical school. Her family and professors say she embodied everything that North Carolina Central University stood for: excellence, leadership, and service. In June 2021, Raegan had returned home to Hampton, Virginia for the summer. She was catching up with family, spending time with friends, and preparing for the next step in her academic journey. But one evening, everything changed because of a series of choices that spiraled out of control. On June 22, 2021, Raegan agreed to help one of her close friends, a young woman named Khadijah, who had been having issues with her cousin, Zaquan Tyler. Khadijah believed that Zaquan had taken about $500 in cash and Mary Jane from her when they were living in the same house a few weeks earlier. The money wasn't just random cash. It included graduation gifts and tips she saved from her job. The night before, Khadijah had exchanged a series of text messages with Zaquan and his mother, Lisa, who was also Khadijah's aunt, her favorite aunt. At first, Lisa seemed willing to help. She asked how much Khadijah was owed and promised to handle it. But things shifted quickly. Later, Lisa began to doubt that her son had taken anything. The conversation grew tense, with Lisa telling Khadijah that if she came over, she was ready to step outside. Despite the warnings, Khadijah decided to go to the house and bring Raegan with her, perhaps thinking that having her friend there would help keep things calm. When the two young women arrived at the home on Berkeley Drive, Zaquan was inside playing video games. When Khadijah brought up the allegations, he laughed off the accusations, denying that he'd stolen anything. The situation quickly became heated between Khadijah and her aunt Lisa. Police were even called to the scene, but after speaking with everyone, they left when it seemed things had calmed down. Unfortunately, that calm didn't last. Moments later, Lisa walked across the street to Raegan's car, where Raegan was sitting, and punched her through the window. In that instant, what had started as a dispute between relatives turned into complete chaos. Raegan and Khadijah jumped out of the car, and the two women began physically struggling with Lisa in the street. Neighbors looked on, stunned, as the argument escalated. and within seconds, Zaquan emerged from the house holding a handgun. In what was later described as an impulsive act, Zaquan fired one round toward the fight, striking Raegan in the chest. She collapsed on the street as everyone screamed in disbelief. Emergency crews rushed to the scene and took her to a nearby hospital. But despite their efforts, Raegan's life could not be saved. It was a moment that forever changed multiple families, a moment that ended one promising future and shattered several others. After the incident, police swarmed the neighborhood. A SWAT team surrounded the home for hours, believing the suspect might still be inside. But Zaquan had already fled. He was captured 15 days later at a Newport News motel by a U.S. Marshals task force. No weapon was recovered, but investigators found ammunition matching the bullet used in the shooting. Zaquan Tyler, who was only 16 years old at the time, was charged as an adult. Prosecutors pursued a first-degree hit, arguing that he had time to think about what he was doing when he went to retrieve the weapon. Defense attorneys countered that the shooting was an act of panic, a split-second decision in the heat of passion as Zaquan tried to protect his mother. During the April 2023 trial, jurors heard testimony from Khadijah, who detailed the text exchange leading up to that night and how what began as a family dispute over money had spiraled into unimaginable tragedy. After 2 days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict: voluntary manslaughter. Zaquan was also convicted of having a firearm as a minor. Prior to sentencing, Zaquan declined to address the judge directly, but his attorney read a letter he wrote to the judge. He wrote that he was really sorry for the pain he caused and that thinking about what happened makes him sad and ashamed. "I wish I could go back and undo what I did," Zaquan wrote. "If there's anything I could do to bring Raegan back, I would do it. She was a good person and like a sister to me. She didn't deserve this, and I will live with it forever." Zaquan's attorneys said he made dumb decisions to steal some Mary Jane from his cousin, setting in motion the chain of events that led to the slaying, but said Zaquan's life is worthy of redemption and that he will live with what he did for the rest of his life. The judge later sentenced him to 10 years in prison, the maximum allowed under Virginia law for the charge. He also received an additional year for the weapons charge. At sentencing, the judge spoke candidly about how too many young people resort to weapons over small disagreements, saying, "We're losing a generation." He told Zaquan that his decision not only ended Raegan's future, but also cut off his own. He also told Zaquan that his mother failed him by apparently making him think it was okay to pick up a firearm during the dispute. After the hearing, Zaquan's mother, Lisa, declined extensive comment, but said she never taught Zaquan that using a firearm was the way to resolve disputes. Lisa herself faced misdemeanor charges related to the June 2021 incident. May Raegan continue to rest in peace. My belated condolences to her family and loved ones. I send them my well wishes. Raegan's parents stood in the courtroom heartbroken. Her mother described her daughter as her best friend, someone she could talk to about anything. She shared how Raegan would call her grandparents every night at exactly 9:30 p.m., never early, never late, and how her grandfather now refuses to answer calls during that time because it reminds him of her absence. Her father said he had spent years mentoring young people in the community but couldn't save his own daughter. He called her his baby girl and said, "I have a hole in my soul that can't be filled." Even as the courtroom absorbed the pain of those words, it was clear that this wasn't just a story about one terrible moment. It was a story about how fragile life can be when conflict and immaturity meet easy access to firearms. But Raegan's story doesn't end in tragedy. Her family has made sure of that. In the months after her passing, her mother, Shania Jackson, and Michael Allen founded the Raegan Sharnae Way Foundation, affectionately called RSW, an organization built to honor Raegan's passion for science, health, and service. Their mission is to empower underserved communities through health awareness, education, and wellness. The foundation offers financial coaching for health savings, assistance for individuals with high medical deductibles, and scholarships for young people pursuing degrees in STEM fields, just like Raegan once did. Through RSW, Raegan's light continues to shine, guiding other students toward the future she dreamed of. Her legacy is no longer just about what she accomplished, but about what she continues to inspire in others. Make sure to check out their website to see all the wonderful programs and resources available and the work they have done thus far. The link will be in the description below. Raegan Sharnae Chisley's life was a promise of brilliance, compassion, and change. And while that promise was cut short by one senseless act, her spirit continues to touch lives through every student she inspires, every scholarship awarded, and every life lifted in her name. In a world that often feels too quick to anger, Raegan's story reminds us of what can happen when moments of conflict meet irreversible decisions. But it also reminds us of something more powerful, that love, purpose, and legacy can outlast even the darkest nights. Fam, I'm going to leave the rest up to you. What are your thoughts on this tragic situation? Let me know in the comments below. All right, fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, consider liking and sharing. Subscribe for more stories like this and for the stories behind the headlines, because behind them all are lives forever changed. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times. Until next time.